In this video, we're going to have a look at how do we calculate the missing side if we have similar shapes. So the question asks us to calculate the value of x for the following similar shapes, and we have to give our answer correct to one decimal place. Now the value of x is the circumference of a semicircle that sits on top of our shape. So to be able to calculate the value of x, we need to know either the diameter or the radius. So we might go ahead and mark in the radius as y, because that is the value we need to calculate before we can calculate the value of x. Now with similar shapes are all about proportion. So if we know the proportion of two corresponding sides that we have the measurements for, we'll be able to use that proportion to be able to calculate the value of y and then calculate the value of x. So let's have a look to see whether we have two corresponding sides that we know the measurements of. So the other measurement we have on our enlarged shape is a side of 13.2. So going to my smaller shape to see whether I have the corresponding side, which I do, which is 8. So I can use those two sides of 13.2 and 8 to calculate my value of my radius, which is equal to y. So I can write down the proportion of the sides that I do know, and I'm going to put my larger number on top. So 13.2 over 8 gets me my proportion of the corresponding sides that I do know. And because they're similar, I know the proportion is going to be the same for my y value. So the proportion I need for my y value is going to be y over my corresponding side. So I need to identify my corresponding side, and my corresponding side is going to be 10. So it is going to be y over 10. So I can use those two proportions to be able to calculate my missing value of y, and I do that by cross multiplying. So adding in my cross multiplication, I know that 13.2 times 10 is going to equal 8 times y. So 132 is going to equal to 8y. Dividing both sides by 8, I can calculate that y is going to equal to 16.5. So now that I know my y value, or the radius of my semicircle, is 16.5, I can proceed to calculate my x value. Now my x value is going to be the circumference of the semicircle, and the formula for the circumference of a circle is 2 times pi times radius, and because it's a semicircle, I can divide by 2. So substituting in my value, it's going to be 2 times pi times 16.5 divided by 2, which equals 51.8 units. So the value of x in my question is equal to 51.8 units.